are these people?
For apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
Like, this is a conflict that's been going on for several years. This is something that's been kind of, like, journalists have literally dedicated their entire careers to this single conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 75-year long thing just to get people a little bit re-educated. Here's a little clip from the Empire Files documentary, which is great.
Yeah.
Right?
Gaza Strip is only 25 miles long and about 5 miles wide. 2 million Palestinians live packed into this tiny space, one of the most densely populated places in the world. Half are children. Many live in refugee camps speckled throughout the besieged territory. A stunning 80% of the population relies on foreign aid. Aptly called an open-air prison, there are only 2 ways to leave the enclosed area: the Erez crossing into Israeli territory, and the Rafah crossing, which goes to Egypt. Both are completely controlled by hostile militaries. What Israel calls...
It's not even that. So they even have... They are the most high-tech army in the world. They have sensor machine guns that will literally they'll kill you as soon as you come anywhere.
They have automated guns that will just, like...
You can't leave. You can't leave, and you cannot enter, and you cannot leave.
A border.
It's like literally like a hell on.
Well, and that's another thing that we'll get into, is that one of the arguments you see from freaking trolls and idiots is the argument like, oh, well, like before IDF carpet bombed everybody, they told them to leave. Where are they going to go? They're in an open air prison. Like, where are they going to go? You know, it's the most densely populated place on the planet. Where are they going to go? It's just, again, so brainless. Like, but yeah.
And a lot of people in Israel, like, not even like from that area. A lot of them are Polish or like German or.
Well, it's like you see the videos of like everybody fleeing the settlements outside of Gaza, and it's like, normally refugees don't have the resources to just like hop on an airplane and go back to their, you know, primary residence, secondary residence.
Yeah,
is actually a heavily militarized perimeter fence comprised of barbed wire, surveillance networks, and lethal no-go zones. If you roam too close to the so-called no-go zone, which extends 300 meters out from the fence, Israeli forces have authorized themselves to shoot to kill. Thousands of unarmed Palestinians have been shot for violating this rule in 2018 alone. The same goes for Gaza's coastline. It is the only place in the world where you can't even flee by boat, as refugees elsewhere often do. Fishermen are restricted to only a few nautical miles from their shore. Straying past that, even by accident, you can be blown out of the water by Israeli warships. A massive seawall in the north and south, currently being extended, boxes them into their small sliver of sea. This violence is compounded by an economic blockade that imposes a chokehold of poverty on Gaza, resulting in one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, according to the World Bank.
It's the most unemployed place in the world.
Yeah, it's over 50%, I think.
It's over 50. It's over half the population doesn't have a job.
Yeah, so it's like 50%
of you're not making any money. I don't know what.
Like 60-something% of all citizens. The map I just posted, I shared with you in the private chat. So in case people aren't familiar with what the lines have looked like over the last century, give or take, this is just like a really kind of like very, very, very high level kind of history lesson. So you can kind of see that Israel didn't even exist. You know, one of the arguments you'll hear is that people try and say that Israel has claim to the land, and they never did. Okay, it was straight up.
No, where's that? There's like the National Geographic map where it shows Palestine.
Oh, the old one. I gotta look for that, but I think that was I think Medhurst maybe had that one. But the reality is that, you know, basically there was the 6-Day War, and that's where you ended up with kind of like what was around 1940 or 1949. And then since then, Israel has just been doing the illegal settlements and occupation and relegating everybody to West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Now that being said, I know if you said you want to do a little bit of a history, this does kind of tie in. Do you want to pull up that Ben Norton video and we can just go over some of that stuff, because that kind of gives some good background on why. Oh, there it is. Cool, you found it.
Yeah, this is the National Geographic.
Yeah, do you see Israel on that?
There's no Israel.
There's no Israel.
There's no Israel.
So like that's, yeah, I mean, something to keep in mind is that like literally Israel is a European colony. It's not an indigenous, I feel like I'm at the risk of sounding like as like an anti-Semite because I'm like speaking truth right now. But the reality is that like Israel is a bunch of white European colonists. It's not indigenous people.
It's fake. It shouldn't exist.
So
that shouldn't be controversial.
It shouldn't be controversial at all. But people who don't understand what colonialism is.
When people like Zionists like want to look me in the eye. They want to, I'm saying figuratively, but like, sometimes literally actually, but like, saying to me like, so you just want to get rid of Israel? You just want to eliminate Israel? Yes, motherfucker. Yes.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Go somewhere else. It's not yours.
It's just, yeah. I mean, and that's not.
Sorry.
And as we'll show in the Ben Norton
that's not
video.
Anti-Semitic. That's not genocidal. That's the reality.
Well, and that's the thing is that's another important thing to keep in mind, which goes into Ben's video as well. But that the conflict is not a religious conflict; it's a political conflict. It's a land dispute.
Judaism is not.
And also the thing to keep in mind is that there are Jewish and Christian Arabs. There's Muslim Arabs. So the idea that it's like a monolithic religious conflict is just not true. There's because there's multiple ideologies within the.
There's videos of when we were outside. We went to the Shmuley event here in New York, and a Jewish Voice for Peace was outside, and I forgot his name. I wish I did, but there's groups and organizations that are really trying to get across this idea to normal, everyday, practicing faith people that, your religion doesn't have to be tied to this sick terrorist state that is literally sniping kids off the border.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is a sick joke. Watch this rabbi. Be more like this rabbi.
As a Jewish rabbi, I find very important to come to the Al-Quds March, what is going on every year. Zionism is a rebellion against the Almighty, who sent Jewish people in exile to stay in exile, not to rebel against the nations, not to take over the Holy Land by force. Zionism is against every aspect of humanity, where they're robbing away and they kill so many Palestinians, and constantly up to today's day, every day are Palestinians killed for nothing. They rob away the land from them. This wrong should be rectified. We are not supporting a two-state solution at all. If somebody takes over, rob away someone else's house and then come out, oh, I'm looking for peace. I want to make the house half and half. I mean, what's peace in that? First thing is, if you want peace, give back the house. And the same thing here, from the river to the sea, should go back for the Palestinians in full. And then we can live in peace, Jews, Muslims, all other people together. The Zionists say they have to protect Jews from anti-Semitism, not to be another Holocaust. The truth is exactly the opposite. Zionism is only raising anti-Semitism in the world today. They endanger Jewish people all over the world. The only way to bring peace over the world is that the state of Israel should come to an end, and a peaceful end. Nobody looks for bloodshed. We hope and we pray to God to be soon in our days, and then we can live in Palestine together with Palestinians like we lived for centuries together, and like we live in all the Muslim countries.
Yeah, so he actually brings up a good point right there, because I think one of the things that's integral to kind of perpetuating this idea that Zionism is a legitimate I don't know, what would you call it? Like legitimate political ideology, whatever. It's not really a religious ideology, but they use religion as a way to kind of prop it up, because without religion, they can't call people anti-Semites for not supporting Zionism. So they kind of like, I don't know, like religion.
Well, most religious wars are manufactured in the first place.
What's that?
So most religious wars are manufactured in the first place. I mean, you can even see that with like World War I.
Well, what's the like expression? All wars are banker wars. So
all wars are banker wars. That's actually a Pasta thing.
That was Pasta's thing.
No. The Pasta says this in like a speech, and he's quoting like a book from someone else, and I don't know what. I remember Pasta like typically referencing it.
You can see
if someone can remember in the chat. Remember that quote? What book that's from? I don't remember. But here's a video. He said like, a lot of what this rabbi explained was like, how can you just come in and take my home? Like, is this peaceful? Is this something that like a morally like religious just person would do? Just think about this concept morally and ethically.
Hey man, this is actually my place. Well, me and my family have lived here for generations. Who told you that? This ancient book of made-up stories. Would you be happy enough just to piss off or die? No. All right, calm down. God, you're so confrontational. Plan B, let's share. How could that possibly work? I get the house, you get the shed. Are you kidding me? I get a few guns, alarms, a few cameras to keep an eye on you, and obviously nothing gets in or out, including yourself, without my say-so. But yeah, I think I'm willing to compromise on this. What the hell are you doing? Defending myself and my home? Oh, why are you so violent and angry? He just kicked me out of my house. Where were you for that part of the story? What's the headline here? Housing dispute? Conflict? I'll just put, it's complicated. New owner seeks peaceful house shed resolution with terrifying legacy tenant. All happy? I don't feel safe in my own home I just stole.
That's the common line. That's like pretty much where the war on terrorism began, right?
And that's not even that much of a parody. Like that's pretty much.
You don't really have the war on terror. You don't really even have the war on terror and all this like decades of militant horrific history without Israel. You simply don't. It is quite literally the proxy of like all of our involvement.
Well, what is it? I didn't look too much into it, but isn't Israel kind of responsible for ISIS getting started? They're kind of responsible for Hamas getting started. Like so, yes. There is a lot of I don't like labeling these groups terrorists because I think that's just sort of like a charged up phrase. But yeah, like you can make the argument that these violent groups kind of came about as a result of Zionist policy in the Middle East. So. It's kind of it's like they're definitely reaping what they're sowing right now. I'll put it that way.
Israel lies about literally everything. It's not even close.
Well, they have to. Zionism really has no bearing. It has like
it used to have a little bit, but it's like at the point where, and that's why you're seeing this explode now, because you cannot possibly hold on to this much longer. This was a boiling pot waiting to happen. I mean, I heard Max Blumenthal say that he's actually not surprised that this happened. So, I mean,
here's the thing: as we know, we just know from being informed about kind of how like with revolutionary theory and whatnot, that like there comes a point where you oppress a group long enough, they're eventually going to have the means and the willpower to fight. So in that way, yeah, like a tremendous conflict was in the making for, going on 80 years or so, and more specifically within the last 15 or so. But, I do think that I would agree with Max that like it was definitely in the cards for something like this was coming. But it's like, and we'll get into it where, some people try and argue that this was allowed to happen, and I push back pretty hard on that, because because like you said, what Max said is like, you know, what this sort of thing was going to happen. They were going to have the means and the will eventually.